Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another really cool pinball repair video for you today. We had a gentleman come by and ask us if we'd fix his game, and we told him we would fix his game. And so we're going to work on this Williams triple action electromechanical pinball machine. It's a one-player game, which is a little easier to fix because there's less score reels. And it's a little beat. The playfield's got some wear, the cabinet's got some wear, but we're not too concerned about getting it in perfect physical condition. We're just more concerned about getting it to work. So we're going to get it to work, and I'm probably going to touch up the playfield and make it look better too, but we may not get it exactly as original. Look at that, it's been played. This thing has been loved in its life. I don't know how much we'll do to the back glass. I don't really like working on the back glasses. It's just not as fun. Working on the playfields is kind of fun though. And it's got this sticker on it. This is an auction sticker. The gentleman paid $100 for this, or somebody did at an auction at some point. But it's going to cost him considerably more than that to get it fixed. But we're going to go ahead and get it working great so that it can work for many years to come, and he'll enjoy it because it looks like it's a pretty cool game. And then we're going to play it a little bit and make sure everything's working right on it before we're done. So the back glass looks decent. Like I said, I don't like painting those because you can always tell that they've been painted. I don't get too good of results on that, but we'll work on a little bit. We'll at least clear it so that it doesn't get any worse, but you can see that it's flaking a little bit in some of the painted areas. Well, it's all painted, but in some of the certain colors it's flaking. But we will clear coat that and get it where it won't get any worse, and then we might touch up some of it. And then the playfield we'll touch up a little bit, make it look a little better. But this is what we're starting with. You gotta document what you start with so later you can look back and go, man, it looks a lot better than it did when we started. Okay, so all in all though, it's a pretty solid machine. The playfield's worn, back glass is flaking a little bit, but as far as playability, I think it's going to play great. And if we can get that playfield looking a little better, this will be a pretty nice little machine. So let me slide it away from the wall a little bit, and we'll look at the back of the back box. Okay, so it's got a nice little wood door somebody made for it, but it's a pretty nice little door, so that'll work. And then here in the back, still got our paperwork on the sides. Here's our score reels. It looks like this one here has been reworked at some point, so we'll check all that to make sure it's wired up right. Everything looks all right. Yeah, well, my light will keep working. Thriller, thriller night. Somebody has worked it before. You can see that stepper unit has been cleaned a little bit, but we'll clean it again and adjust it. Ball count unit, same thing there. It's been worked through, so at some point somebody had this thing up and running pretty good, probably. There are our 5 little relays here. They're all looking good. And then this little curly wire here, that's probably on there to make it free play. This freaking light. Y'all gonna watch me lose my religion here in a minute. That little curly wire they just added to make it free play. And you know what? That's a damn good way to do it. So to be honest, now I'm a very positive person anyway, but to be honest, this thing's in great shape. It's in nice shape. Nice game to start with. Really nothing of concern except for where they've added these little wires. They could have probably done that a little bit better, but it looks fine. So we'll check it though too to make sure everything's cool. So everything in the back, nothing's hacked really. Everything is present. We don't have the Jones plugs plugged in yet. We'll mess with those first probably. But the back looks great. So let's look inside of it. All right, now you know how I'm always saying to open it up and look inside of the game before you turn it on or work on it if it's been moved. This is one of the reasons why. See this? So there's a pair of pliers in here that somebody left, and that now they're laying on a couple things. If they had been laying like this or something, you know, you could end up with something short now. Okay, some customers came in, but I was saying that sometimes you have something will be laying in the wrong spot and it'll short something out. So I always open it up and check it out inside first. So let's see what's going on here. The relays back there all look just fine. All this looks good. I don't see anything to be concerned about. Transformer looks good. Fuses look good. We'll check to make sure they're the right ones. Let's see if we have any chimes here. Might have to rebuild those a little bit. Joe was just saying he thought that all of these would have been resoldered, but I don't think they have. I think that's all original. I think. Whenever they've moved wires, sometimes they put them in the wrong spot, so that you have to. And some of this is really hard to follow. Like for instance, see all these yellow wires? That's because that's little jumpers where it's connecting this switch to this switch to this switch to this switch, and it gets really easy to not know which ones are all supposed to be connected together. But it looks like all that's still original. These are the Jones plugs for the back. Those relays there all look fine. Everything looks good, really. We've got some kind of stepper unit over here. Let's see if that's labeled. No, that's probably some kind of bonus or something. And then there's one over there that looks almost identical. Are there two bonuses on this? Okay, so there's going to be probably one for this spinner and one for this bonus. All right. And then these are Williams drop targets. They have a kind of clunky design to them, but they work. What is this? Some kind of relay there. Another drop target. You got what says it's the bonus relay, the triple relay, the double relay, the advanced relay, and the spinner relay there. Got a new flipper coil here and a very black one over here, but I think that's just, I don't think it's burnt. I think it's just colored that because the plunger looks new. And this plunger looks new. Yeah, this thing should clean up and fix up well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean those Jones plugs and plug them in the back, and then we're going to start cleaning the relays and stuff in the back box. And then whenever we get that done, we'll come back down in this part and clean all of these switches, clean all the score motor switches, and see where that gets us. We'll prop up the playfield, clean all the switches on the bottom, replace the light bulbs while we're doing it, and see if we can get this thing to be fully functioning. I'm going to check the values of those fuses too, but first thing I'm going to do, we're going to work in the back box a little bit. Okay, so I'm cleaning it up. Everything's real nice. It's been worked through by somebody. Somebody has already cleaned it, so I'm just going behind them and cleaning it up on top of what they did. The ball count unit over here actually was working just fine, no problems. The match unit was a little dirty, so I took it apart. Let me see if I can rig up my light where you can see it good. So I took it apart and put some synthetic grease on it. So now we're stepping as we should, but it's just the match unit, so the game would probably work just fine without it. Sometimes though, on this match unit, there's some scoring that runs through it, like if there's anything random or anything like that. So that's that. And then I'm doing the score reels. This one all the way to the left that's had the wires spliced. You see all that orange on the score reel? At some point that coil must have burnt up and when it did, it scorched the score reel, but that's not really no big deal. And then this one, you know, mounts in there next to it, and so that's just staining on the metal. It's not, there's nothing wrong with that. And somebody has put either a new coil in it or a whole new thing in it, but they've got it working right, or it seems right. So I'm just going through them, cleaning these and adjusting the switches, but I haven't ran into anything that's a problem yet, except I did have to rebuild the match unit, but like I said, it may have worked even without that. So I'll finish these 4 score reels, and then we'll look down on the bottom. So I took the playfield out of the game, which is really easy, just unplugs. And that way you can get down in it and see what's going on. I vacuumed it all out. Everything looks to be in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of stuff going on like this where they've, I think maybe removed the score motor or something. I don't know. Or I guess they've replaced the actual motor. But everything looks pretty good. So I'm going through and I'm cleaning the switches, and sometimes you have to adjust them, but you don't want to go through and adjust every switch, because if you do that, you're going to screw something up. Most of the switches will be adjusted fine, but every once in a while you'll find one that's a little off, probably needs a little bit of adjustment. So I'm cleaning the contacts. What I use is I've got an old file that's all worn out, that doesn't have hardly any grit on it at all. You don't want to use any kind of a aggressive file, because it'll screw up the contacts on it, right? You can even, what the old timers would use would be like a business card with a little water on it or something, or a little Windex on it or something, and you run the business card down between the contacts, and it just cleans it off. But I'm going to show you how to tell if you're adjusted right. So I've done this on tons of videos, but why not do it right here, right? So this is the reset relay, which isn't really significant. It's just the one that I happen to be working on. So look at this one. What I'm going to do is, the relay is, well, I guess I don't need the light. It looks pretty good. The relay is open right now. So whenever this relay is energized for whatever reason, it pulls this little armature in. So the relay creates magnetism. It pulls this plate down, right? So when it does, it makes the switches change. So let's look at that second switch there. See how it's open right now? When it pulls in, it touches. Now the way you can tell if it's adjusted is, it should move the smaller blade just slightly. So let's look at the first one. So I'm going to just push it in a few times. Do you see the small blade moving just a little bit? That means that the switch is basically pushing up against it and through it. Second one's doing the same. The third one's doing the same. The fourth one's doing the same. Now on these last two here, they're actually, they open. So they're normally closed, they're normally connected, and whenever they pull in, they open up. But it's the same thing. Whenever it pulls in, it makes it open, and then whenever it pushes back out, it moves it. So see the smaller blade there? See how it's moving? Now look at this outside one. Connected, right? But look when I move it. See how you don't see the blade moving at all? Okay. Now watch when I touch it, just barely. So it's connected right now, right? No, it's not. It looks like it is, but it's not. See how it moves a little bit before it touches it? So that one's supposed to be closed normally, and then it opens up whenever the relay pulls in. But, and so it looks like everything's working good, but the thing is it's never actually closing. So that's a good example of what you would adjust. Now, there's a million ways you can adjust it. Basically, you just push on it a little bit. I just pushed it with my finger a little bit to bend it slightly. Now look, see how the smaller blade all on the outside, see how it's moving now when the other one touches it? There we go. Simple as that. Now, like I said, you don't want to go through and adjust every switch, but that one wasn't touching. So I'm definitely adjusting that switch. It's messed up, right? So that's all I'm doing. I'm just going through, cleaning everything, making sure everything's right. Sometimes on the score motor, you'll get one where the top switch, like this, will be sticking up like that because something got caught on it. They were pushing a piece of paper through here or something, or throwing the manual in here, and it bent the blade up, right? So you have to watch to make sure. See how that one's loose? But it's supposed to be, because the entire stack hasn't pushed up yet. So it has these little notches that push it up. So you have to carefully go through and push it up the notch and see. But you're just looking for little stuff like that. And that one on the reset relay, we could look in the schematics, but whatever that was, I'm sure was causing all kinds of problems. But we'll keep cleaning through. I'll see if I find anything else and let you know. So I found a few switches that needed adjusted, and of course I cleaned all of them. So there may have been 20 of them that needed cleaned, but we cleaned every one of them. And then the fuses, they had, I looked on the schematics and figured out the value of the fuses because there's no label on it or anything. I think originally there would have been a label right behind the fuses, but it's missing. So I looked it all up, and basically if you look in the schematics, it tells you by the color of the wires what that fuse should be. So for instance, on the schematics, there is a red wire that goes through a fuse and then turns into a yellow wire. So that is a 10 amp fuse. And then there is a black, yellow, and white wire, or black, orange, and white wire, or something like that, and a black wire that turns into a black wire. And that one is a 15 amp fuse. So I just made this little diagram here so that in the future they'll be able to tell. So they had a couple of them that they had 20 amp fuses in. So it's probably not the end of the world, but I went ahead and replaced them with the right ones. So we got that back how it is. I cleaned all of the little posts, got them nice and shiny. Cleaned all of the switches on the score motor. I cleaned the connection on the chimes. We're going to play it first and see how the chimes sound. We might have to mess with that. But all of that stuff's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the playfield back up on the rails to where it's leaning up. And the only reason I'm going to do that is just so that it's up in the air where I can work on it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through and clean all the switches. While I'm at it, I'm going to replace the light bulbs. And we'll see if we run into any problems on any of that. I'm down to these two stepper units that are very similar. This one says advanced unit. I don't know what that one is, but on that one, this little coil bracket is broke. Just broke in half. I guess from some thunderous playing, right? So they kind of had it rigged up, and I took it off, and after looking in the back, would you look at what I've found? Have you ever seen anything more beautiful? Took me half an hour to find it, but look at that. It's the exact same part. So we'll put that over there like that. We'll put the screws back in it, and she'll be ready to go another 40 years. So I got all of the switches adjusted, got everything put back together exactly how I think it ought to be, and we're going to try to plug it in and see what happens. Now, if you notice on the, I always, whenever I do the score reels, I leave them on a number other than 0 so you can see if they all reset when it starts. And by the way, well, how come that last one I left on 0? It's because that's a fake number. Look how they even have a fake 1 underneath it and a fake 9 up above it. It's fake though, it's not really real. It's just a little piece of plastic to make it look like it has 5 scores instead of 4. So let's see if we can plug it in. I don't know if it's turned on or not. Aren't you happy you get to do all this part of it with us? And if I get one more person saying, get a tripod, I've got a tripod. This is the fun part, doing it by hand. Okay, so let's see if it does anything when we turn it on. Yeah, it does. Alright, so it's rolling, rolling. They see me rolling. Why would it be doing that? I guess it's looking for the pinball. It shouldn't really be doing that though, because we didn't start a game, we just turned it on. All right, so this, what you're hearing is the score motor. It's just running nonstop, right? So we got to figure out why is the score motor just running nonstop. So I'll show you how to figure that out. Okay, so the score motor is running nonstop. So I'm gonna show you how to fix yours if it's doing that. Okay, so here are the schematics for this particular game. You see triple action. It's a Williams. So what you want to do is, now if you haven't gone through and did what we just did, clean all the switches and look at everything and see if you see anything wrong, blah, 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 that's your problem. You need to do that. But we've already cleaned everything. I think everything's right. Obviously it's not though, because the thing isn't working, right? So we're gonna look, and if, let's say you've gotten to this point and the score motor's just running and running and running and running and who knows what's going on. So here's how you figure it out. Here's the schematics. Now remember, I know the fuses are all good. I've checked all the switches, blah, blah, blah. But I missed something. So on the schematics it says score motor. So if you look, I mean, I know I always do this like at like a beginner level. That's just how I think through fixing these problems. So I just kind of say it out loud too, in case you're at a beginner level too. So the way this score motor works, or the way any of these work, any of these coils work, is it has to get power. There's two wires going to it, right? So one of the power wires comes in this side, and one of the power wires comes in this side, as it's represented on these schematics. So this one on this side, how is it connected? Look, it's connected to this line. You see there's a little dot there, and then it travels up this way and is connected through a fuse straight into the transformer. So in other words, one side of the score motor always has power. Now the score motor is running right now, so it has power, right? Well, one side always has power. Now if you were in a situation where maybe your score motor wasn't working, you might want to look at this side. But since it's always working, we know this side is always supposed to be connected, so our problem can't be on this side, right? It's just a straight wire. But look, over here, the score motor gets power from this side, and it runs through this service jack. So there is a little, that place I was showing you where the wire was cut, there is a little jack that plugs in, and you can just simply plug it in where it says off to make it where it will not run, and that might be useful if you're working inside of the machine or something. But since it's running all the time, obviously it's plugged in the on position, which is where we want it for normal operation of the game. Okay. Now zoom in just a little bit. Zoom in some more. Did I lose you? Okay, so here's our score motor. So here's the wire. It's an orange and blue wire. It runs through the service jack, and then it runs over to here, and see this little dot? That means all of this is connected. So there are several ways that score motor can keep running, because it has to get power from this line. See this yellow line? That also connects up to the transformer. So for that score motor to work, it needs to get the yellow, which is kind of like a ground. It's AC, so I don't think they really call it ground, but I guess it would be a neutral. It has to get a neutral, and then it has to get the power wire. This line here says that that's a 24-volt difference between this line and that line. So this line wraps around and touches one side of the motor, and then somehow, since that thing's running, somehow this yellow wire is connected to the motor. That's why it's running. And it shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't just keep running and running and running. Something should be turning it off. So how can the yellow wire get over here? Well, it runs through these switches here. So the first one that it can run through is it can run through a switch on the 500-point relay. 500 relay. So there's a switch here. That switch will have a yellow wire on one side, and then this wire is orange and green, it's telling us. So there'll be a yellow wire and an orange and green wire connected on a switch on maybe the 500-point relay. So we need to look at that. Or maybe it's on the target relay. Or maybe it's on the bonus relay. Or maybe it's on the reset relay. Or maybe it's on the 50-point relay. Right? Or we'll get back to this one. Or maybe it's on the out-hole relay. So you see my point? Like this out-hole relay, if this switch is stuck closed, this yellow wire will be connected over here to this orange and green wire, and that will give power to the score motor. That's why it's continuing to run. Right? And then there's one other way. See how this says 2GO at D2? So if you go up here, usually it points right at it. You can see it. Where is D2? D is here. Yeah, it's right here. So it can also do it through the 25-cent coin switch. That's worth looking at. Could do it through the 25-cent relay, but only if it's through the 25-cent coin switch or the 10-cent relay, blah, blah, blah. So there's all these different ways that that score motor can be getting its power, right? So what you can do is you can track down each one of these switches, but I've just went through and they all look kind of good to me, right? But you can go back and look at each one, find each one of these switches on each one of these relays. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's also this one. This is telling you, this is the actual score motor itself has a switch on it. So what happens is, let's say that this 50-point relay closes real quick because, or let's say the target relay. So let's say the target relay closes really quick because somebody just slapped the target on the playfield. So that pulls in. It makes the score motor start moving because it needs the score motor to be moving to make some of these other little places like this pulse. So remember how on the score motor there were little cogs that had little things that go up and down and make switches connect and stuff. So what happens is you hit the target, it pulls in the target relay makes the score motor start turning. There's a switch on one of them that goes up and down 5 times that's connected to the 10-point relay, so it just gave you 50 points and stuff like that. They need a little movement to make some of the scoring work and stuff. So that score motor moving does that. So anyway, so all of these switches do that. Well, to make sure that, so let's say that you hit the target relay and then the target relay starts the score motor running, and it's supposed to hold it until the score motor makes the switch go up 5 times, so you get 10 points each time, you get 50 points. Well, if the ball falls off the target and then the target relay opens again, it's no longer connected to the score motor, so the score motor would stop. So what it does is it has this home switch on the score motor. So basically every time that the score motor is turned on, it has a switch on itself on the index. It says IND. It has a switch on itself that leaves it on until it gets to a certain spot. So any of these relays with just a pulse can start it, and then it'll keep itself on with its home switch. So once it turns all the way around and gets back to the starting spot, I think it's actually, there's 3 different ones or something like that, or there might be 2 different ones. But once it turns around a certain amount of revolutions, if that's a half or a third or a full, it will get back to its home point and it will turn itself off. So it could be that this switch here is screwed up, but I just adjusted them too. So if this switch was stuck closed, it would always be turned on. But what's likely happening is one of these other relays is doing it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look with the game on and see which relays look like they're pulling in. And that might give us a little clue, right? So we'll turn it back on and see which relay is stuck on. Okay, so when I turned it back on, it turned around once or twice and then it stopped. Because I had the top up, so I had the pinball out of it. So whenever I put the pinball back on the out hole, so it thinks the pinball is where it was. So this is, it thinks it's in the middle of a game. You can hit the flippers and everything. But look what's going on here. The out hole relay is pulsing. And there's a little spark down there too. And no matter what, it's never kicking the ball out. And also, it should have ended the game whenever we turned it on in the middle of a game. So the game over relay should have came on. And this out hole relay should be kicking the ball out. So we'll look and see what's going on with that. We've been working on it. By the way, you're going to hear a bunch of noise. it's this double axle. It's constantly talking to us, right? But all right, so we've been working on it. I have figured out a couple things. I found a couple issues. Okay, so the reason that the score motor was running over and over and over again, it was intermittent. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. The reason was because on the bottom of the out-hole relay, whenever the out-hole relay was violently spasming, there were two of the blades on the bottom that were almost touching each other, and whenever the relay pulled in, it would wiggle just a little bit that it would make those touch. So let me show you one on another one. That one's way down in there. Is that a good one? Where's a good one? I need a good one I can show you on. Well, I can just show you on this. So on the relay, everywhere there is a switch, there is a wire. And so two of them were bent so close together that they were almost touching. These aren't set up quite the same. But you get my point. So I found that and I spread them back apart, which made it where it stops the score motor from running constantly, right? So it was basically power was jumping somewhere power shouldn't have been jumping. So we got that, right? But then the ball wouldn't kick out, remember? So it was this one. This top switch here was bent up just a little bit so that it was never actually touching. And so I bent that back down. It fixed that. So now we only have one thing left. Okay, so I'm going to show you what's going on. So I have turned the game on. See how we were on ball 4? So I'm going to do this with the top up just so you can see how it works, and we'll try to figure it out. So we're on ball 4. So we're going to act like the pinball is sitting on the out-hole switch. So you see what I'm saying? If this was down, the pinball would be sitting in the front. I can't do it right now because it's literally upside down. But the pinball would be sitting in the hole. The way the machine knows that is it pushes the switch in. So when I push this switch in, you'll hear it go, you'll hear it move a bunch of stuff, and then it'll go click. And whenever it goes click, it's this ball release coil here shooting the ball out of the out lane. So when it does that, I'm going to let go of the switch because the ball would not be on the switch anymore. And so look what it says, balls to play. We're on ball number 4. We're still on ball number 4. Okay. One thing too about this is this is a Williams add a ball game. So we'll talk about that some other time, or maybe whenever we do the other video. But basically, it works a little different than a regular pinball machine. It's telling you how many balls you have left, not what ball you're on. So balls to play 4. So we've got it thinking that it kicked the ball out, so I'm going to do it again to where it drops on the switch, right? So we'll do it one more time and watch what it says. Still says 4. That's because it has a little thing built into it where if you don't score points, it doesn't take your ball away from you. So if the ball would have went all the way up the playfield and then landed back in, it wouldn't have taken that ball away from you. So that's working right. So now I'm going to hit a couple things on the bottom of the playfield just to score some points. All right, so it thinks that I've scored a few things, and you know the flippers and everything are working. Okay, so we've scored some points, and now we're going to lose the ball. So it should go to ball 3, or 3 balls to play. And it did, right? Okay, so we're going to do it again. Score some points. Okay, and we're going to land on in the out hole again. It should go to balls to play 2. And it did. Same thing, we're going to score some points. Land in the out hole. Should go to 1 ball to play. Okay, it did. So you know what happens after this? It should go to game over, right? It's the last ball. Game over. All right, so we're cool. So now nothing's working, and if I touch the out hole like the ball's just sitting there, that's exactly how it should be, right? So all of that is working right. But here's the only thing that I think may still be a problem, but I'm not sure. So if I start the game, it resets everything, you know, because we cleaned everything. Everything's cool. It says balls to play 5, and if the ball was sitting here, it just shot the ball out into the out lane. Okay, so we have 5 balls to play, right? Now, on most pinball machines, if you turn off the game and then turn it back on, it should be in game over mode, right? And if I turn on the lights, on these old ones, if you hit the left button, it actually turns on the lights. See how it says that we're tilted, right? And it still says 5 balls to play because remember we started the game, right? But in regular, with the playfield down, the ball would be sitting in the out hole. So whenever I touch this, watch what happens. We're still in gameplay. So it's not, it's for whatever reason, it should end the game whenever you turn the game off. Then you turn it back on, you shouldn't be in the middle of a game. It should be game over. Now, it's not the biggest problem in the world. I mean, most people don't turn the game off until the game's over anyway. And if it did do this, it would just mean that you would be in the middle of a game whenever the game gets turned on. So it's not that big of a deal. But it's not, I don't think it's supposed to be like that. So I'm trying to figure that out. So this is the game over relay. See, let me get you some more light. We'll have to walk over here. Alright, so this is the game over relay. So the way you make the game over is it pulls this one in, which is the game over latch. So whenever you do that, it tilts the game, right? At the end of the fifth ball, that pops in, and that's that, right? So that is actually happening whenever you turn it off and back on. So here, we'll put it back with the game on. So we're in the middle of a game right now, just where we were. I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, now watch it. Boom, boom, boom. So whenever it turns on, this is going to pull in, ending the game, right? So I'm gonna turn on the power and watch what happens. Did you see it? So that's what's supposed to happen, right? And if I turn on the lights, we're still in game over, and it says tilt, actually. The only reason it doesn't say game over is because that light is actually lit up by the ball count unit. So everything's cool, but that's because I don't have the ball in the out lane right now. So as soon as I put the out hole, as soon as I put the ball in the out hole, watch what happens. So I'm going to touch the out hole switch like the ball's in there. Watch what happens. It started the game back up. So I don't think it's supposed to do that. In most games, it's not supposed to do that. But this is that weird freaking add-a-ball game. So I'll try to make it short and sweet on the add-a-ball thing. Basically, in certain places, it was illegal to have a game where you won anything. So it was considered gambling to have a pinball machine where you won a free game. And depending on how hardcore certain locations, certain areas of the country were, the pinball folks made special versions of some of the games where instead of it having where you have 5 balls and you play 5 balls and then the game ends, they would have it where you start with 5 and you can get more balls, add a ball to your gameplay. You can win more balls and get more and more or less and less, and as the gameplay goes on, you're winning a ball inside the game instead of winning a free game. So it's just this, it's a interesting little thing. It basically works backwards. On most old EM pinball machines, whenever it starts, you're on ball 1, then you're on ball 2, ball 3, 4, 5, and then the game ends. But on this one, you start with 5 balls, and you go down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the game ends. So you can have 5, go down to 4 to 3, and then win 2 free balls, back up to 5, then go down to 4, then win another free ball, you're back up to 5. And it works different. So I'm wondering if that whole thing is just that since it's an add-a-ball game, that's just how they work. So I'm going to study the schematics just a little bit more, and then we'll decide if that's ready to go. Then we'll wrap up the video because I think we've got it fixed. We just have to do the cosmetic stuff and play through it a little bit. Let me see what I can figure out. Okay, so looking on the schematics, the best I can tell on this particular game, for whatever reason, if you end the game in the middle of a game, whenever you turn the power back on, it will start back right where it was. So that's the best that I can tell, because it just the way it's wired. I don't know if I think it's because it's an add-a-ball, but if someone has other information about that, please leave that below. If you check the schematics are online, you can check it out and see if I'm wrong about that. But we're going to move on because it's such a minor thing. It's not the end of the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to test it and just see if everything does what it's supposed to do. And then we're going to have to do a whole other video of us doing cosmetic stuff to this thing because it is destroyed. I don't even want to get too close to up there. So this thing has been set on free play because of that little wire on the back. It basically never runs out of credits. So I'm going to hit the start button, and what we should get is both of our, this should have reset, which it already has. I think the spinner resets, which it already has. All of the scores should reset, and it should pop up that we've got 5 balls to play. And we'll, oh, and it should kick the ball out. So let's see if it does all that. Ta-da! Okay, so in some games there's a little switch here so it can tell if the ball has left the shooter lane, but this one doesn't have that, so it's not that big of a deal. So we're just going to try a couple things by hand. We're going to cheat. Maybe we can win some free balls, and then we could see if the add-a-ball part is working. I don't know how you would how do you win a free ball? Making ABCD scores special when lit. Okay, maybe. Who knows? Maybe. So advance spinner when lit. This one's lit, so it should advance the spinner, which I guess is maybe that will advance these. Let's see. Oh, it actually advances the spinner. Okay. Okay. And it's scoring random stuff. Okay, this one isn't lit, so it shouldn't. Very cool. Every time we're getting 100 points, and so now it should roll over to 3,000. Oop. Might have to look into that. Maybe it was the way I was hitting it. We'll watch that. So I'm going to write down. That's the 100 points. 100 points. Scoring extra. Maybe. Maybe. Perhaps. Spinner scores 100. Hundreds when lit. So if I spin that, we should get a bunch of points. So cool. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. Okay, we've got a little switch up here. It gives us 10 points. Alright. And then I guess this one does the same. 100, 100, 100. You got to be careful. I'm always afraid it's going to smash my finger. Right? So we're just going to barely hit it. Looking good. Other one. Looking good. Looking good. All right. So all of those were hundreds, and it didn't do the double 100 thing. It was just this one whenever I was hitting it. So it might just be that switch. So we got another switch here. It's doing 50 points. Very cool. So perhaps this one does the same. It's Seems to work good. Notice we haven't got any 1 points yet because remember, it's all fake. Look, there's a fake 9, half of a fake 9. Unbelievable. All right, and then we'll do the kickers. Whoa! Whoa! It almost got me. We'll do this kicker. Kickers are touchy, but whenever we do the playfield, we'll fix that up a little bit. Okay. Oh, we got these 3 at the top. So advanced bonus, right? So we're still at 1,000. So when I hit these, it's giving me 100 points, and it's advancing the bonus. So they're all working, and the chimes seem to be working. Okay, so the only thing left to score on the, oh, we got 2 out lanes. It's 1,000 points. And 1,000 points. Perfect. Okay, so now all we got left are these drop targets. So this one doesn't have the advanced bonus lit up, but it might just be the light bulb. So we got it all gave me was 100 points, but it did advance the bonus. 100 points and advance the bonus. Okay, so we're on 5 balls. I wonder if I get all 4 of these, if I get an extra ball. Okay, it says making ABCD score special when lit. Bam, baby! All right, so you can see how fun this thing could be because of that part of it, right? So, where'd my light go? We were on ball 6. Well, anyway, you can score. So I guess you have to do it twice, right? So we've got 6 balls. So let's imagine I'm just really great. I'm a pinball wizard, baby, and I'm killing it. And so I just did this again on the same freaking ball. Holy crap, now I got 7 balls to play. So the balls just add up because you can't win a free game. You can only win an extra ball. But it actually makes it a lot more fun because the game can get really long and etc., etc. But you know what? All that seems to be working. The only thing that we don't know if it works is the spinner scores 10s when lit. Let's see if we can get that to alternate. How does it switch over? So I don't know how to get that to light, and I guess we've maxed out our spinner or something. Maybe the spinner lights are messed up. We'll write that down. Spinner lights. You can read that, right? Okay, and we need to see if our bonus works. So 10,000 points, and it's triple. So I should get 30,000 points, and it should knock me down to ball 6, and it should pop the ball back out to here, right? So we're at 15,080. I should get to 45,80. Damn, it feels good to be a gangsta, right? So my spinner lights are back. I wonder what the deal is with that. So do they just stop after a while? Oh no, there they are. They're back. Oh, I see. The spinner builds the single, double, triple. Once you get all the way done, all you're going to get is points. Spinner scores hundreds when lit. Is that because we got up to triple? Okay, let's end the thing again. Okay, I'll bet that says spinner scores 10s when lit, but I said I was going to replace all the bulbs underneath, but I didn't yet. So I'll bet this scores 10 right now. Yes. Okay, and if I go all the way up, I'll bet it now scores hundreds. Yeah, so you know what that means, folks? This thing's perfectly working. Perfectly working. We fixed it. We fixed it. Can you believe it? So, it still has issues, obviously, but there are issues on the playfield. The playfield needs disassembled. And we need all of the, we gotta repaint stuff, and holy moly. Holy moly. It's playing itself. 2 balls left to play. I guess I should show you that the flipper works. Alright. So I don't want to play it too much more with the playfield all destroyed, because you're just making it worse the whole time. Last ball. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to film another video of us taking the playfield apart. That's the button stick. That button sticks down a little bit. Whoa! I won an extra ball somehow. Or did I? Oh, you know what happened? I got 106,000 points. And they had it set up to where you get a replay on that. It says replay, but you get an extra ball on that. Okay. Oh, look, it's got 100,000 light. Very cool. All right, so I think we've got it electronically working pretty good. I may need to mess with the flippers a little bit, but remember, somebody had already rebuilt them, so, and they feel strong, so may need some switches cleaned and stuff. But what it mostly needs is it needs the playfield completely disassembled, cleaned, and then we're going to try to paint some of this art back in a little bit, not a bunch, because remember, I'm doing this for a customer, so I'm not going to like go crazy. I'd have to charge the guy a fortune, and I don't want to do that. He'd probably be happy with it right now because he could play it, but if he keeps playing it with this playfield this bad, it's going to just wear completely away. So we've got to save the playfield, folks. We have got to save the playfield. So we'll film another video of us taking everything off of this sucker, cleaning it all up, touching up what paint we can, get it looking a lot more presentable. The cabinet itself is in pretty good shape. We probably won't have to do much with that. The back glass we'll probably take and clear coat it just so that it doesn't get any worse. It's got a few little flaking spots, but they've been touched up, or they've got they may have LEDs behind there or something, but the back glass looks pretty presentable the way it is. So we're not going to do much to that, but if they haven't clear coated it, we'll do that just to save it in this current state so it doesn't get worse. And we'll get the playfield looking good with lots of wax, where it will it'll play better, and we won't have to worry about the ball destroying the playfield as we play it. We'll put a new ball in it and all that. So, but cool, we worked through it. We got it working a little bit. This 100 points one, I'm just going to say top rollovers, and the spinner lights isn't a problem. Top rollovers. I'll watch them just to make sure. They may just need cleaned. But when you're hitting it with your hand versus the ball rolling over it, it's a different thing. So that is that. So let us know what you think. Leave your comments below. Is this thing worth saving? Is this machine worth working on? I mean, it's not triple action. It's not like the most desirable one. This isn't an Addams Family, right? This isn't even like a Fireball or a flip-a-card. This is a triple action Williams from the 70s. Is this thing worth working on? Is it worth saving? Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. If you got any suggestions, and we'll try to answer as much of those as we can. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film this for you. And if you're looking to buy a game, you can see all of the ones that we have for sale on our website. Go to lionsarcade.com. You can check them out, or you can come check us out in person. We're in downtown Rock Hill, South Carolina. We've got a building full of arcade games and stuff we're always working on. We're just filming this stuff as we do it. Now, if you can't come by and you don't want to buy one, just subscribe to us here on YouTube, ring the bell, all that stuff like LL Cool J used to say. It'll tell you every time that we film a new video. It'll send it over to you. He said rock the bells, didn't he? Did he say? It was Rock the Bell Radio. That's his radio channel. Okay, I gotta go check that out. So, leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it. Hey, whenever you give us a thumbs up, the reason we always ask you to do that is because it spreads our video around YouTube. YouTube goes, oh, look, the people that watch this video enjoy it. Double Axel's talking again. YouTube goes, oh, people like this video, they're enjoying it, so they spread it around to other people, and then other people see it, and then if we get enough people watching these, other people are going to be inspired to save these games, and that's your way that you can help save the pinball machines and help save the arcade games by liking our videos. It helps us too, right? So give us a thumbs up, leave your comments below, and we will see you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed it.